Hello everyone, I'm Kalle from TunerMax, and last month we did a really huge discount on our Rainbow Reactor games across the major VR platforms PSVR2, Quest and SteamVR. And lots of people have asked me since then, well, how did it go? And in this video I'm going to tell you exactly how it went. Spoiler, it wasn't that great. But first of all, let's do the intro. So as a little recap here, you have again the chart of what exactly went down when. Maybe you know that the platform providers often have certain slots where they place their sales, and you can participate if you're invited. And most of them have like week-based rhythms, you know. So PlayStation mostly has 2 weeks for one sale, while Quest and Steam have 1 week. And so we tried to time them all almost identical. And we thought this would maybe get a good knock-on effect, you know. So if one sale on one platform goes well and there's lots of social media feedback and people talk about it online, then this would also aid the sales on the other platforms. But unfortunately, that didn't really happen, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And the reason why we did this kind of insane discount is that, of course, other titles have done it. And it was really interesting in some cases. For example, last summer, the publisher VR Kiwi did some of these sales, for example, with the game Stilt. And it was like 80% off, and then it did really well because the sorting you can see here in the PlayStation VR store is of course based on best-selling order. And best-selling doesn't mean the number of copies sold, but it means the number of gross that was created, you know. And here we are on page 11 currently in the German store. And when Stilt did this 80% off run, they went on page 2 and to the very top of page 2, you know. So that was pretty good. And then lots of other games followed their example. And it seemed like a really interesting way, because if you would even manage to get into the top 10, then it would also get mentioned in the PlayStation blog. And of course, other platforms like Quest and Steam have similar mechanics where titles that sell well will of course be shown to more people. And this is like a total win. So let's see how it went in our case. So first of all, I have to tell you that while lots of people always show their Steam interfaces and the exact user interface of Steam that they show in real time, this is actually not really allowed. You know, we are all, as developers, we are under NDA. So it means we signed a non-disclosure agreements with the platform providers. And it says pretty clearly in there that you may not show this stuff under any circumstances. But with Steam, it's probably gotten so common that nobody is really like thinking about it anymore. But I'm not sure what PlayStation and Meta would think about this. So I've unrolled my best MS Paint skills and made my own type of graphics that you can see here. And so this is like a representation of our PlayStation developer backend. It looks totally different, of course. I try to make it look a bit more like Steam. And you can see here that these days here in the beginning of May, before the sale started, of course. And then when it started, like there was a huge spike, you know. That's normally the case because on the first day, the people who have the game on their wish list are notified. And then you mostly make like the biggest splash of the whole sale, you know. And as you can see, it really goes mostly downhill from there until the very end, when there's people who say, oh yeah, I saw this game and I wanted to pick it up, and today's the last day, so let's better do it now before it's over, you know. Something I do myself as a gamer too, of course. But this is how it went on the PlayStation during those 2 weeks. And you can see like the total sales gross was $2,240, and we sold 1,050 copies in all. Well, okay, so that was PlayStation. Now let's have a look at Quest. And this has a different interface, which I kind of like remodeled with my MS Paint skills. And you can see here right away that this is like a way lower number. It was only 374 copies, but of course you have to say that this was only 1 week, you know. So what you just saw for PlayStation was 2 weeks. This is 1 week, and in this 1 week, 347 copies were sold, and $333 were generated as revenue. And this is also after tax, I think. And if you have like these 3 threes, or if you have like the same number in a row in Germany, we call this a Schnapszahl. So it's actually a number where you would normally do a toast. So cheers to that. And what's also super interesting is that you can see here that in the beginning, like on the first day, contrary to what I just said, not much happened, you know. The thing is that what happened here, where there's just such a huge spike, is that, of course, I sent out lots of emails to all kinds of YouTubers and websites and stuff that I had worked with in the past. So not like a random mailing or anything, but like people I've had contact with before. Some I even had done podcasts with or whatever, you know, and told them about the situation, that we need to raise money because we need to pay the Unity Pro fee for next year, which is $1,000 per developer. So it's really a lot. And as you can see from the numbers we're making here, it's not really worth it to give Unity like $4,000 for the two of us who work mainly on our games if we only make so little money. So we had asked people like, could you maybe talk a bit about this? And another thing that was especially important on Quest is that we also told people, because the game there is a bit older than on PlayStation, it's been out there since fall of 2021, that it could be delisted this year, you know, because you always have to do certain things to keep it up to date. And this always takes time and money and is kind of stressful, and the game normally doesn't sell at all anymore. So next time this happens, we will probably not going to fight it and just say, yeah, sure, if you want to delist the game for whatever reasons, just do it. We don't care. Doesn't make a difference for us either way, you know. But even that was not interesting enough for anybody to write anything about it, with two exceptions. The totally cool YouTubers MoFunVR and StockiVR, who are German language only YouTubers, so most of you probably don't know them. But they also have quite a number of followers. I think Mo has over 20k subscribers and Stocky has 5,000 or so. And they were really nice and went out of their way and made like social media posts and YouTube posts and stuff like this, especially about the sale, and really recommended the game and stuff like this. And then someone in Germany saw this and posted it on a deals platform, essentially. You know, that's not only for games, but for all kind of like deals you get at Amazon or wherever, you know. So it's quite popular here. And when that happened, you know, we had this huge spike. And this is also interesting because it also showed like in the country list of countries who buy the game mostly, you know, because normally Germany is only like 2 to 5% in there. The US is like 60 and stuff like this. And then suddenly Germany jumped up to 20%, even though this is like averaged across, I don't know, maybe a week or maybe even a month. Yeah, probably it's a month. And so this means like probably all of these people who bought this game here were like Germans who came either from MoFunVR and Stocky, or probably also from that deals website. Because you can see after that, you know, and this stuff is always like this, it spikes up and then it's gone and forgotten the next day. You can see that on the next day it really peters out again and has this low level. It was before, like, I don't know what this is, but I'm guessing like maybe 20 sales a day at most. And of course, considering that we normally don't sell any copies on Quest anymore, this is fine, you know, it's nice. I mean, having $300 more is better than nothing, even though again here, this is before Meta's cut, so they will take 30% of that, and the rest is for us then. All right, so with that being said, let's get onto Steam. Oh, this picture is a little bit small. Let's bring it up a bit. So this is the original Steam interface. You know, I guess nobody got ever sued because they showed this in their game developer videos. So as you can see, on Steam, the game made $149 and sold 124 units because it cost roughly $1. So that was that, you know. And again, you can see, almost biggest spike right in the beginning. Then a day later, I'm also guessing again when this little bit of social media coverage we got kicked in. That's the highest spike. Then here it peters out and it doesn't even have this ending spike. Well, Quest didn't have that either, but yeah, that's what it looks like. And of course, that's really very little money. But on the other hand, the game we sold here wasn't Rainbow Reactor Fusion, but the original Rainbow Reactor that doesn't have this whole story mode, and it's already been launched in 2019. So it's, yeah, a really pretty old game, and it's often been available for like, I think 80% off, so 90% is not that huge difference anymore. And yeah, not too many people were interested in picking it up, even at that low price. But what's kind of interesting is that if you look at the country distribution again, very interesting that China is here in first place. I've never had this in my whole 7-year career as a self-publishing game developer. And normally it's of course the US, normally they are even like super high at 60% or something like this. And then normally Germany is in second because we are from Germany. So we have better contacts here. The game is localized in German and stuff like this. Whereas these languages like Chinese, Ukrainian, Russian, Portuguese, they're all not localized in the game. So, okay, you can really play the game without understanding what is being said, I guess. Still, that's super interesting. And of course, it's nice that so many people from countries that normally would not buy the game have bought it now due to the high discount, So that's at least something you could consider a small success or a pleasant surprise. Yeah, and so to sum it all up, here I made this super professional chart that shows like the final comparison where I have now cut the PlayStation VR2 sale off. So it's only the first week that is counted here to make it more comparable to the other two. And you can see if we do that, sold 647 units in that time and grossed $1,380. And this is of course also partly due to the fact that the discount was only 85%. The game is a bit more expensive on PlayStation because it's still newer. So the end price was $2.24. And of course this leaves us with this comparatively nice sum of $1,380. And what's also pretty interesting is that the review count of the game jumped up by 22. So I think when the sale hadn't started yet and we tried to do our little promotion and stuff, it was at 97 reviews, and then it went up to 119. Since then it's even gotten a little bit more. So maybe there's also people who bought it in the sale and then only played it later. But I didn't include those, so it was 22 in the actual time frame of the sale, which was especially noticeable because on Quest and SteamVR there were no additional reviews, which also possibly says something about the platforms. But again, I don't want to interpret too much into it. Maybe it's just because the game has been out much longer on these platforms. It's not the hot stuff anymore. So yeah, that's fair enough. But still, I was really kind of disappointed, even though the game cost less than $1, that so few people picked it up, even though like I'm guessing about 800 or 1,000 people still had it on their wish list, So yeah, money is tight for everybody. And of course the game is a hard sell. We've known this for years, most people are just not intrigued by the concept. And the nice thing about that is that after the fact, if people still buy the game, they often play it and they say, wow, thanks, I was really surprised, much better than I thought, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, this happened again with the sale a lot of times. And really thank you, everybody who gave the feedback. We really appreciate it because after all, we make the games so they are played, And so this is why I would also still call this sale a success, because really the user numbers have gone up like quite significantly. It's like over 1,000 people. And so that's at least something nice. And still, I would say the downside is that you, of course, kind of burn your game a little bit if you put it on such a high discount, because many people will go to pages like SteamDB and stuff, and they will compare the current sale to the highest ever discount, and then maybe say, oh yeah, no, it's not at 90% this time. I'll wait until they do such a high discount again. But I guess for us, it didn't make too much sense, because we had Rainbow Reactor Fusion on 65% off on PlayStation VR2. And of course, we sold much lower numbers, but the revenue was very comparable, so you kind of burn your game and devalue it a bit, and then you still don't get much more money than with a kind of regular sale. That's not really that good. So if you're a developer and are thinking about if this is still a cool thing that brings lots of money into your pocket, I cannot really recommend it from my point of view. But then again, it also has a lot to do with the game itself, of course, with the timing of the sale maybe. But I have to say, especially the fact that I put a lot of energy into coordinating it all to take place in the same time frame and stuff, and writing to people and creating lots of promo materials, extra videos and stuff like this. If I would have just worked on my normal day job, I would have made a lot more money. So that's always the sad thing. And especially because, again, it shows that there's not that much money in VR, which is a bit sad, but that's just the way things are. And we here at Unimax are still totally in love with VR and try to do as much as we can. So hopefully we will somehow be able to scrounge up the $4,000 we need for those new Unity Pro licenses for next year, so we can continue making games. All right, that was it. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like and even better a comment. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Rainbow Reactor.